Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Julia, and today I'm probably filming the most requested video ever. How I edit my videos. I don't know, but like I don't really have that much structure when I edit. Each video is so different because I always try to elevate my videos and improve by each video. But I'm gonna give you guys my best tips and tricks and just like the workflow on how I edit my videos. So starting off, of course, before you edit, you have to have a concept in mind. Before I start filming, I will always look for inspiration, for colors, for music, for locations, potentially make a mood board. It's not necessary, but it's easier if you're working with a lot of people and you need to visualize your ideas. I don't really have a set way of making a lookbook because like I want to make something new every time, so I just do whatever I feel inspired to do. I find inspiration by looking on Instagram, music videos, movies, listening to songs, traveling. It could be anything that inspires you. So depending on what type of video I'm doing, each setup will be different, but the camera I'm using is a Sony a7S II, and I've been using that camera for about 3 or 4 years now, and by each time I use it, I learn something new. It doesn't really matter if you have the best equipment, but you can improve your work and the final result just by learning more of the technical stuff, learning post-production. So if you don't have the best camera, don't worry. You can still make an amazing video. If you compare the video that I filmed first with this camera and with that video that I do now, it's two completely different results in terms of quality. When I record sound, I can either use a VideoMic Pro by Rode, I don't know, it's like a Danish brand. It's not my favorite. Otherwise, I'm like right now I'm using a Zoom H6 together with a external mic that is connected to the Zoom, and that mic is from Rode, I think. And then if I'm doing stable shots, I use a DJI Ronin-S gimbal. It's very easy to operate. It's not an amazing gimbal if you're doing very fast and quick movements, but it works for me when I'm doing more like easier productions. But if I'm doing like running and shit, that's not gonna work. Before I start to do any type of editing, I prefer to have the music in hand already. And finding music is probably the most excruciating thing ever. It can be so time consuming and you just sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll for hours. I've probably spent like 3 days just finding one song for a video. That is painful, but that is what you have to do sometimes. And where I find my music can be really different, but most of the time I'm on SoundCloud and just like scroll through my likes and check for related, find new artists, and just like click away. Of course, I want to avoid copyright issues, but actually since my type of videos are so music centered, it's quite hard to avoid being demonetized. So a lot of my videos actually aren't even monetized, but I want to make a good video, so sometimes the music is just the right vibe, and then I'd rather just give up that to make the video as good as possible. And of course, if you can, always ask for permission. I try to do that with all of my music. Sometimes it's not possible, and then I just have to hope that they don't get pissed. Another site that I use to find music is called Epidemic Sounds. On here is everything royalty free, so that is a plus, knowing that anything that I use on this website will not affect my copyright. But on here I also find all of my sound effects. So let's say I'm filming an outdoor shot and I actually want the nature sound or the ambience, but it's super windy. I remove all the sounds, and then I try to find Foley sounds, fake sounds that will match the scene that is happening in the video. If you guys have seen my Jeju Island vlog, all the sounds from the ocean and the water and the footsteps are all fake. It's really time consuming, and you just have to like be patient and search for all the sounds and listen to all the sounds that will fit. I use Final Cut Pro X, and once again, people are so worked up on which program. What program I use does not matter. If you're a whack editor, you're gonna be a whack editor no matter what program. If you don't have the finances to buy a program that's expensive, you can use iMovie depending on like what level of editing you want to achieve. But making like a lookbook or a talk video, you don't need the finest program, so don't be too caught up on what program you're using. Firstly, do a selection of the clips and roughly cut everything, and I usually just put them on the timeline to just have it there. And then when I have that done, I edit to music, so I add my soundtrack onto the timeline, and then I usually save a few seconds, maybe like 5 to 15, 10 maybe, for the intro, and I always do the intro last. You just have to know what transition will go for what, just listening to the music. It's really depending on what mode you're in. If you're doing a slow, chill, more cinematic, obviously you're not gonna be as hectic in your editing. And if you're doing an upbeat song, you're gonna be more quick cut and make it interesting and have obviously the clips matching the music. But if I'm doing a talk video, I just edit all the talking portions. And for the sound of a talk video, I like to remove any type of buzzing or noise, and that I do by using the channel equalizer and like another geeky term that I don't remember. But after that, I add any type of effects that I want to use. This, I don't really have a structure. If you see my last spring lookbook, I did a lot of covering my hand on the camera or like pushing the camera, and that is also things you can think about when you film. Like, what type of transitions do you want to do, and do you want to make them in camera or in editing? As for effects, I usually use masks quite a lot, and that could be also a form of transitions. If you've seen my what I wear in a week or my fall lookbook, those transitions are done by doing masks, and this can be found easily if you just check like YouTube tutorials. Like, that's how I learned all of my tricks. But I use keyframes quite a lot, which is you manipulating or controlling specific time points in your timeline to do transforms or crops or anything like that, and that is super useful when you edit, and I probably use that for all my videos. So if I'm doing a mask and I want it to follow along in the video, I just use the keyframes, but you have to do it by each like millisecond. It's really fine, small, handy work, so if you don't have the patience to do it, it's really time consuming, and that's why my videos take so long to edit, because I can just like be stuck on all the details to just try and make it look, in my eye, as perfect as possible. But yeah, it's probably just me that's thinking about it. There's a lot of ways to color grade, and I start off with color correcting first. So color grading and color correcting are two different terms. Color correcting entails the white balance, neutral basically. That's usually what you do when you color correct. So I use different methods to achieve that. Currently I like to use curves, but I've also been using color wheels. So for the curves, I make sure to adjust the exposure, and also knowing what type of exposure you want is gonna be crucial for the final result. If you want a more contrast video, you need to pull down the shadows. If you want a more soft tone, you need to pull down the highlights, and it's all those things you really just have to work your way through and learn as you go. I had no idea how to do this before, but watching a lot of tutorials helped me along the way. And one thing that I like to use the most when I color grade and color correct is waveforms. It's kind of difficult if you don't know about it, but I'm a little geek. Basically, waveforms is showing you all the information in a picture and translates that into a waveform where you can see exactly in the image the exposure is with the color. By utilizing waveforms, you can be precise with your image if it's underexposed, overexposed. If you can, do learn about it. It's probably gonna be an entire other video if I'm gonna talk about it in depth. And then after correcting the exposure, I make sure that the color is neutral, and with that I can also use color curves or color wheels and adjust the colors manually. I usually add on LUTs and hue and saturation and any type of tint. That is also up to any video. I have plenty of LUTs that I use all the time. I don't have one set, and even if I add on a LUT, it doesn't mean that I'm done with the look. I always go in and manually fix the color grading for my videos. This is still a learning process for me. I am not the best, but I have developed my skills quite a lot in the past few years. So by each video, I feel like the grading is getting better and better in comparison to my previous ones. After all the color grading and that whole shebang, I add titles. I don't really use that many titles in my videos because I find titles sometimes a bit distracting, and I want to be able to portray a visual experience, and I don't want my viewers to read too much when I'm doing like a lookbook. I want you to be inspired by the motion, by the music, by looking at it, and not like being too focused on, okay, this product is from here. That I always list in the description, but that's just my preference, and sometimes you need to have titles. But either way, titles are also, I don't really have one set. I just look for fonts that I like. I usually use Arial Black or Helvetica or random ones that I just like download from the internet. And you can change up the color, you can add tracking, which is the spacing between all the letters. You can do outlines, and you can do a lot of graphics with just using titles. And yeah, just try to be imaginative. And last but not least, I do the intro and the outro. It's really hard to like have one set of structure when you do different types of videos all the time. But if you have a format that you like or enjoy, try to just improve that as much as possible. Try and challenge yourself by trying out new concepts all the time. But yeah, that's how I edit my videos. I don't really even know if this was helpful, and I hope it was. It's really hard because like you go by feeling. There's no rules on how to edit, you just do it, and don't be too caught up on technical stuff. And if there's anything you don't know, just Google it. That's how I learned. I really hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. And if there's anything that you guys are interested in me talking about next, or if you want me to go more in depth into my editing, do let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!